Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. It's going to start out with us talking about, well, you know what? Before I get into the show, I want to show you guys something. I want to show you something that is long overdue. And, you know, there's a thing that I like to tell folks, right? A lot of times people are like, why do you give credence to somebody that for so long was such a creep? Why do you give credence to somebody that was just such a creep for so long? And my answer to that is always, you know what, folks? Look, I want you to remember a very, very important point. And that is the enemy of your enemy, and I'm going to modify it a bit, in some instances, the enemy of your enemy is your friend. And right now what we have occurring is Donald Trump is starting a whole lot of enemies from Donald Trump. We have Scaramucci. We also have, well, you know what? What I should do first of all is play, I didn't cue that one up, but I should have queued that one up as well. Play the Scaramucci tape, because what he did on Joanne Reed on, I think it was Saturday, on Saturday, was amazing. We're going to get into the AOC and the left-wing thing in a minute, but let me show you this. This is what he had to say about El Señor Trump, and I think it's important, so check it out.
Joy, if you want to fault me and your viewers want to fault me for getting there late, I'm okay with that. I can accept that because I'm a flawed human being. But here's what I would say to everybody. This is an international crisis, and you have to create an off-ramp for people that did what I did. We were spinning a Rubik's Cube and said, okay, well, this part is good, that part is good, this part is good. Okay, that part is bad. I think the last 2 weeks have been worse than at any other time. But let's say that you don't agree with me and you say that he's been exactly the same that he's been since 2015. Some of us, it took us time. I'm a loyal person. I'm a registered Republican, and I'm just suggesting to people, create the off-ramp for people that got this very wrong. We made a hiring decision. We're in the boardroom. The CEO's acting nuts. We have to replace the CEO.
What parts were good?
Okay, so I thought some of the parts that were good were the deregulation of aspects of the American business, the delayering of the administrative state. If you looked at some of the things that they did on the economy, you improved African American and Hispanic American unemployment numbers.
I don't think you guys always go to that. It's an interesting place that supporters of Trump always go. African American unemployment has been falling since Obama. Why is that always the hinge point there? I mean, I never knew the Republican Party was that interested in African American unemployment.
I'm not. You're asking me to tell you where I saw things that were beneficial. For me, I'm a very big believer that we need regulation in our society, but we need propitious regulation and sort of the middle of the pendulum. And I think we're swinging too far to over-regulating the economy. But it doesn't really matter right now in terms of what our political differences are. We have a lunatic, a full-blown lunatic in the White House that is literally having a nervous breakdown before our eyes.
We have a full-blown lunatic in the White House. This was one of this guy's biggest confidants. I mean, they said, oh, he only knew him for a while. No, this was his confidant out there, folks. So, I mean, so if he believes that, you know, what should the rest of America believe? I mean, it is getting that serious. It is getting that, how should I put it? We really are talking about a lunatic. And if you think that that is bad enough, he got yet another person that's going to run against him, the president that is. And who is that going to be? Well, here we go. Well, I thought here we go. Yep, here we go right now. Bam.
Most of my former colleagues believe they think Trump's going to lose in November, and they want him to lose in November. And then they think they're done with him and everything can go back to lose. They want Trump gone. They're just afraid to say that he's unfit. The President of the United States ordered private companies to not do business with China. The President of the United States said our Fed chair is as big of an enemy as China. We haven't built 1 foot of a wall. That this president who said, I'm going to eliminate the debt in 8 years, has increased the debt at a faster clip than Obama. But I'm not doing this to save the Republican Party. I'm doing this, George, because I think the country can survive Trump's 4-year tantrum. But you give this guy another 4 years in the White House. Right now, he is, George, literally tweeting us into a recession. Tweet us into war.
But as you know, presidents who face a serious primary challenge, it tends to weaken them, they tend to lose. Are you prepared to take responsibility if you do well in this for helping elect a Democrat that some of your viewers and listeners will say, oh, socialist?
It doesn't matter. Absolutely. I'm going to do whatever I can. I don't want him to win. The country cannot afford to have him win. If I'm not successful, I'm not voting for him. I'd rather get back to the place, George, where I'm sitting down next to a Democrat member of Congress and we're arguing about capitalism and socialism. We're arguing about ideas. But instead, we're talking about a child in the White House. Be brave is our campaign slogan. I believe there are people out there dying to come out, stick their necks out, and say publicly what they believe privately, that this guy is unfit, he's indecent, he's setting a horrible example for millions and millions of American children every day. We have somebody in the White House who's not fit to be president. Everybody knows that.
He's not fit to be president. So we have two guys that came out against the president that turns out to be two of his confidants. Now, let me tell you something, folks. A lot of people, when I put some of this on the Daily Kos, some people said, why are you playing him up? This guy was a creep all along, and we knew that. So why are you giving him the time of day, and you're propping him up, and you're giving him kudos? Important, again, I repeat, for those of you who are just joining us now, we are going to be talking about the AOC's, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, latest tweet about why we are, put it this way, why is it the radical left wing is actually what America wants? Why is it the radical left wing is what America wants? We're going to talk about that, but I wanted to kind of get before that, talk a little bit about the president and how the people are starting to come out against the president. Well, it is so important that we understand what it's saying. The enemy of your enemy, in this case, we use them as our friend, because here's the problem. I can stay here and talk, and I do have a whole lot of conservatives that listen to the show, but we also have folks that are listening to the show. A lot of conservatives are listening to the show to kind of put a backstop on it and to be there to be that voice of opposition, not realizing that what we really want as well is to have conservatives who, kind of think a little bit about it. Well, here's the deal. By having Scaramucci, by having Joe Walsh talk the way they talk about the president, because these were some of his most advent supporters. These were some of the guys that had his back. These were some of the guys that were protecting him. And for them to come out like this, it makes a difference. It makes a difference. So what that means is some people that wouldn't listen to us, meaning the progressives, some people who wouldn't listen when we tell them these things, now they will start to say, there must be something there. Anyhow, let's go ahead and get busy and get with the show. So what is the show about today? Title of the show. AOC is right. The radical extreme left agenda is really the moral agenda America wants. Secondary title. A tweet from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez recently gave me both pause and resolve. You see, the radical extreme left agenda isn't that at all. It's really America's agenda. And it is something that we need to go out there, lift our heads up, and fight about. I want to play. I'm going to play before I get. I'm going to tell you what her tweet said, and then I'm going to get into what came on the show with the show with Chuck Todd. I'm going to talk about what they said on this week. It's not this week. It's Meet the Press. On Meet the Press, we're going to talk about that. Anyhow, radical Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez sarcastic tweet hits the nail on the head. I ran across an AOC tweet about the radical extreme left that left me sort of with a pause. Reminder of that, and this is what she said. This is her tweet. Reminder of what people are calling the radical extreme left agenda. And what is the radical extreme left agenda? Here is the radical left extreme agenda. Number 1, Medicare for all, a living wage and labor rights, K-16, schooling aka public colleges, 100% renewable energy, fixing the pipes in Flint, not hurting immigrants, holding Wall Street accountable. The reality requires a lot of discussion. We must frame the argument in the right context to ensure Americans are not duped by the plutocracy. For too long, we have been voting against our interests. And you know why we do it? Because we buy into the narrative. And even Democrats, you have those Biden Democrats that are out there. They're nice people. They're great people. They're wonderful people, but they're scared. Oh my God, we got to get rid of Trump. We got to get rid of Trump. We can't take any chances. We can't chance it on Elizabeth. We can't chance it on Bernie. We can't chance it. Oh my God, we love what they're saying, but we can't do it. Why can't we do it? Because they're too left-wing. They're too left-wing. And you know what the left-wing thing, folks, if we started to talk about what it is that we're talking about, what it is that we as progressives are putting out there, and we do it in a manner that equates to people's personal lives, my God, you can't lose. You know, a lot of people are saying, look, anything but, well, I want you to listen to this. And after you listen to this, I want to elaborate a bit on it because it is very important. Check this out.
You listen to all those candidates and they would all tell you, it's early. It's still early. By the standards of our elections, it's not actually that early, but this time it is because Joe Biden is the clear front runner and people have questions about it. He hasn't really made the sale with enough of the party, I think. I think there's a sense that he could falter, and then someone else would have to rise. And we don't know who that is at this point.
Well, but Jill Biden can be right and still be wrong about her husband. That is to say, the central question for Democrats is nominating someone who is electable, who isn't going to scare off those voters who a Democrat desperately needs. People like Mayor Pete and Elizabeth Warren and so on are saying, you know, we have to be change agents because really this is a primary fight against Joe Biden, sort of the incumbent front runner. But the Democrat who's going to win is going to have to communicate to the American people a sense of sanity, balance, that they're not there to change the system, but to reform the system. Yeah. That's going to be the winning ticket. It just won't necessarily be Vice President Biden.
But that Democrat's also going to have to excite the Democratic base.
And they're
going to have to bring the Democratic base out.
And there are two schools of thought within the Democratic Party about this, right? One is Trump is an emergency and we can't take any risks and we need to go safe, and that's the Jill Biden argument. The other that Democrats will make privately, although perhaps not publicly, is that the Democratic Party could nominate an edible arrangement and it would beat Donald Trump. That's the kind of thing you hear when you watch Democratic strategies.
There are a lot more people on the Democratic side that quietly do believe this. This is especially, it really turned this week.
And this is part of the difference between the Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders message and the Joe Biden message. Biden is arguing that Trump is the problem. Sanders, Warren, some of the other progressive candidates are arguing that Trump is a symptom of a larger problem.
Now that last statement was genius. That last statement was genius. And why was that last statement genius? Everybody wants to look at Trump as the problem. Trump is doing everything that the Republican Party would have normally done except for his shenanigans. Trump gave them their tax cuts. Trump gave them their very ultra-conservative conservative judge. All of that. What the guy before the smart woman who spoke said was, oh my God, we are Biden. I mean, everybody's noticing now that Biden will not, let me repeat this. Biden will not be the Democratic nominee. Biden cannot last the entire Democratic field. He cannot last, okay? There are several things that's going to hold him back. And it's not only health, okay? It's not only that he's not thinking as fast. It's that he just does not have what most of Americans have. The new poll from Monmouth came out today. It's Bernie 20, Elizabeth 20, Biden 19. And people say, oh, well, he's right there in the run. It's a statistical tie. That doesn't matter. That is telling us already 40% of Americans are up for two progressives, which means that trumps what Biden has to bring. And Biden is the only viable centrist that's on that stage. Biden is the only viable centrist, and America doesn't want centrism. Again, we go back to what the very smart young lady said and what the guy said. First of all, it is true that we have to excite the base. Biden will not excite the base. Biden will bring nobody to the polls other than old folk. And you know something? We need more than just the old folks, because the old folks are splitting their vote between, yes, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. So that's not going to do it for us at all. But what's going to do it is the progressive. And when this guy comes out there, he's a Republican journalist on stage, and he says, well, the thing that the Democrats have to do, Jill Biden may be right, that you have to pick somebody who can win, is you have to pick somebody who understands that you have to modify the system, you have to change the system, but you're not coming in to really make any major changes or anything like that. I am sorry. We do need major changes. We need transformational changes in this country. If you doubt it, I have a banking story to tell that I'm not telling today, but I'm going to tell a few days later after that is complete. But it's a good banking story that shows you how dangerous a plutocracy is, how dangerous what we live in is. Don't let anybody tell you we only need to tweak here and tweak there. We need transformational change. There are two trends. There are two progressive transformational. One is the active one, the Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders says, let's get in there and just materially change things. And by the way, even what he wants isn't really left-wing as people would want to say it. He's just talking about, let's turn into something like Denmark, where we have the healthcare, where we have the basic income, well, not even basic income, but healthcare and some other stuff. He's not going as left as some of us would like to go. But Bernie is considered, the democratic socialist. Well, Elizabeth Warren has noticed the toxicity that the word still has, something that we need to clean up. But right now, the word still has some level of toxicity, right? So what are we going to do? We have Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren comes out and she gives the key word that everybody needs to hear. Oh, I'm a capitalist, but I want to do this. I want K-16. I want to do this. I have a plan for this. I have a plan for that. I have a plan for this. I got a plan for everything. By the time you execute all those plans, what you get is free enterprise that treats everybody well and gives absolutely everybody access to success. Now, I didn't say equal outcomes. I said give everybody access to success. And so that's what she's selling. So there are two different ways of selling the thing, and both of them are on the same team. It's a matter of which one sells to America. So in that case, personally, taking off my politics done right hat, taking off my objective hat, my two candidates are Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. Okay, those are my two candidates. And deciding which one is going to determine, and again, the truth of the matter is, I really don't, we have the hardline Bernies that are like, if it's not Bernie, somebody else is going to go in there. And when they get in there, they're going to really go for the plutocracy, or they're going to forget what they're going to just appease. And then they said, but Bernie's not going to do that. Look, let me be frank, my brothers and my sisters. Bernie and Elizabeth Warren, when they go into office, they're going to have the same pressures and they'll have the same reactions, and it's going to be up to us, the base, the true progressive base, to keep them in line. That right? So we're going to do it. So, man, love you guys. Don't be concerned about too much whether it's Bernie or Elizabeth. Don't be too concerned, or don't get too crazy about, it's Bernie. My friend, I'm going to bring him onto the show sometime soon. I don't know if you're listening right now. If you're listening, you may call in Bernie or Bust. The guy who created Bernie or Bust, friend of mine, wrote a book, Bernie and Bust as well. And I had him on the show a couple of times, and I'm going to have him again. And we're going to go at it again. You know, the thing about it is this. I love Bernie. Bernie is responsible. Bernie is responsible for giving class and giving power to what? To the new progressive movement. AOC and everybody can say, you know, he laid the foundation that said, okay, we can talk about this kind of stuff and we can talk about it unadulteratedly. Okay, let's now go to back to the tweet because that's what I said the show was going to be about. But anyhow, Monmouth was huge. Samantha Sider, hey, Kathleen Maureen, welcome aboard. Noah Sibley, welcome aboard. Noah says, most of these candidates need to stop being selfish and drop out. The truth of the matter is still early, Noah. You're right. It would be nice if they drop out, but I'm going to tell you a little bit of something in a little bit why a lot of these guys are staying in. It's a danger of them, of some of them that are in. I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Monmouth was huge. Samantha Sider, you're so right. Bernie and Warren combined for more than 2 times Bernie's numbers. And that's what I was trying to tell folk. If you calculate, you know, people say, oh, well, it's a statistical tie. Yeah, but Bernie and Elizabeth represent the progressive base. And let's continue with the other not pseudo-progressives, but a little bit less progressive, like we talk about the amount that Castro has, the amount that Beto has, the amount that all these other folks add. All of those votes are progressive votes. It's over for Biden, and I've been saying that from Biden started. I've said Biden should not have gotten into the race. Biden should have retired as President Obama's good vice president who, you know, I mean, come on, the guy lost twice. I mean, the fact that this guy can lose twice, continuously put his foot in his mouth, and the Democratic Party think he's going to be the standard bearer on a party that is getting younger, that is getting more diverse, and they think he was just going to be the standard bearer? Come on, man. That is a plutocracy talking. That is them trying to force something on you. Biden is a nice guy. Biden just can't win. He can't win the primary, and he can't win the other. I mean, Trump is going to make mincemeat out of him if he were to make it. Luckily, like I said, he is not going to be our rep. So those of you who are supporting Biden, I love you too. You're Democrats, you're good progressives, but he will not be our nominee. I will bet a little piece of my pinky finger, just a little piece, because, you know, Trump wasn't supposed to win either, you know. But anyhow, Noah, I said I was going to tell you something, and before I get into a little bit more into the tweet, the reason a lot of candidates are in who know they don't stand a chance, there are 2 reasons why. Hi, Masticator. My dear friend Masticator, like I tell you, I love my right-wingers that come in and say hi, and they come in and talk because they make it, they're an important part of our whole society. And by the time we get to November, Masticator will be voting for either Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders. I can almost guarantee you that, my brother Masticator. Love you, man, but you're going to be changing a lot of your stance because you come and you talk to Politics Done Right quite often. A major right-winger talking to Politics Done Right, brother, we're going to be together. Yeah, yet Tamara has lost 3 times and you can't stop praising her. Look, let me tell you the difference. There's a huge difference. Tamara is not running for president. She's running for a seat. And the reason I continue to praise her is how she has done it. That's the reason why, Masticator. But you know something? I do have to give you that. I thank you for actually remembering all the folks that we talk about and all the folks that we have on, because that just shows me that, you know, you're one of us, brother. So come, you keep coming to the show and you keep talking. But don't forget, we'll have you voting for one of our progressives. Okay, here's it, Noam. The reason why a lot of these guys stay on board is the plutocracy knows that there's a good chance a progressive gets elected. What they want to do is they want to have a little bit more control over the debate. What do I mean to say that they want to have a little bit more control over the debate? What they want to do is they want to destroy Medicare for all. They want to put so much out there that they force Elizabeth Warren, they force Bernie Sanders to moderate how they're going to talk about Elizabeth Warren and then make it plausible that it will be that we will satisfied with the public option. But the public option is a ruse that I'll explain when I go through AOC's tweet. So let's talk about AOC's tweet. AOC says, reminder of what people are calling radical extreme left. And she lists them, and I'm going to explain them one at a time. Medicare for all. She says, how is Medicare for all radical? It's not radical at all. Now, let me tell you what is radical. What is radical is a private healthcare system that you paid for. In other words, here's all the deals with the private healthcare system. Many times, you pay for the drugs, the research on the drugs, and when it's about to become a product, some private company buys it, they do the final studies on it, and after they're done with the final studies, they sell it for $1 million. They just sell it for a ton of money. And that's why you have people dying, because they're trying to limit the amount of insulin they take, because, you know, they've modified the way insulin works, all that kind of stuff to make it better and all of that. And then they take a new patent out on this very old drug. So, I mean, it's really legalized murder, right? I mean, so that is one thing when we talk about Medicare for all. That is what is extreme. That is what's radical. It's radical that you develop a product, that you pay to develop a product, that you invest in the infrastructure for that product, and when that product is to be marketed, you make zero, and not only do you make zero, but they charge you out of your teeth to support it. It is also radical. It is completely radical that we have to pay the amount of monies we pay for health insurance when other countries are not. That is radical. It is radical that you will extract all that money out of your average citizen to pass it to a few corporations. You know, in other words, when you go for an aspirin in a hospital, it costs $10. When you get one pill, it costs $20. When you go to get an X-ray, it can cost you anywhere from $10 if you have your copay, all the way up to thousands of dollars. That is radical. You know, we have been taught to think that the things that are not radical are actually radical, and that which isn't radical is what really is. Think about it. The radical thing is to have the kind of healthcare system that we have. That is radical. Okay, let's talk about living wage and labor rights. Okay, we talk all of the times. Oh, get a job. We are asking people, get a job. We want you to get a job. That is very important. Get a job. And there are a lot of people out there that they say, okay, I will get a job. So what do? They go ahead and they work at McDonald's, or they work at these other places, right? And they don't make a living wage. Okay? Caller, I'm coming to you in a second. They don't make a living wage. I try when the callers come online to interrupt what I'm doing, to go to the caller. A lot of times that makes it a bit more interesting as well. So what I'm going to do is I'll continue with the labor and her other points after I take the caller here, but because I think that is important. And if you want to call, please do remember this is a call-in show, 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. Would love to hear from you. Come on in, my caller from Skype. You are on the air.
Man, brother, man, I don't know why you call your show Politics Done Right. It's Politics Done Way Left.
Okay, who am I talking to?
It's Larry, baby. How you doing?
Brother, okay, you know, anytime you come on, I got to introduce you. Larry is my gun-touting, right-wing, former racist who is now a real cool guy, still a conservative, but he loves the show. Talk to me, Larry.
Okay, man. First of all, I got to take on your premise about the mooch.
Yes. Talk to me about the mooch.
No, the mooch is right up there. It doesn't impress me about as much as the rest of the never Trump opposition. You know, like the late John McCain,
yes,
like Mitt Romney, like Michael Cohen, not very much. And there's a little tidbit you need to know about Brother Scaramucci.
Yes.
The Chinese conglomerate HNA Group back in August dropped its bid to buy Skybridge Capital, which was a hedge fund investment firm that he founded. U.S. regulators wouldn't allow the deal to go through, and the mooch was PO'd about that because the regulators wouldn't let the Chi-Coms buy his company. So in other words, he couldn't leverage his long service, 10.5 days and a couple of drunken nights in the White House to pressure the administration. So now Trump is a racist and a cult leader.
Okay,
man, I'm telling you, man, these people are so transparent. He needs
Whoops.
of all of these swamp creatures. Moochie is one of them, along with a whole nest of others.
Okay, Larry, now talk about Brother Joe Walsh.
Joe Walsh thinks he can oppose Donald Trump in the coming primary. He's a former congressman. He has some props and some chops as being a legit conservative. But I think he's also part of the better part of the Never Trump wing. I don't think he's as unscrupulous as Scaramucci and John McCain and Mitt Romney. But nonetheless, you know.
Larry, hold on a second. Hey, gas mask, you said painful audio. In what regards? Are you talking about the telephone, or are you talking about right here, the voice? Because I need to know what needs adjustment. So you can go ahead and tell me. Hold on a second, Mooch. Let me just answer some question. Masticator says, I have been listening too long. I can feel the commie seeping in my mind, killing off all the logic cells. I love you, Masticator. Keep on listening, brother. And Noah says, but even Bernie is a band-aid, a big one, but doesn't completely tackle white supremacy and how bad it's been worldwide. Look, let me tell you, Noah, I want to talk about that. You know, I think there are two ways to tackle white supremacy. I don't particularly like to do it much of the way that we're doing it. I think there are better ways to do it, but we talk about that another time. Continue, Larry.
Okay, well, look, Joe Walsh has got a right to make a shot at, Donald Trump and see what he can do with regard to unseating him for the nomination of the Republican Party. But I think he's making a bid for CNN, frankly.
He may be doing that. I think he could be doing that. I mean, look, I think everybody knows that it's a good likelihood that Donald Trump is going to be the nominee for their party. I mean, that's on almost certainty, right? However, I think what these two guys,
95%.
Yeah, I think what these guys are doing, they're kind of they're by these guys coming out so actively against him, and by calling him that he's crazy, he's a madman, he's unhinged, something that we on the left have been saying for a while. But that coming from the Mooch, that coming from Joe, I think it's much more powerful to guys like Masticator than it would be for me.
Look, that guy got let go because Trump let him go for the same reason he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of the club, out of Mar-a-Lago, because he found out he was a creep. Okay? Let's be real.
Okay,
I wasn't saying that I'm trying to get to the left. Let's be for real here.
Larry, I got to get back to AOC, but I want to ask you something.
Okay, I got it. But one thing I like to say about AOC, you know one thing about AOC when she says all the things she said that you said in the introduction to the show? It's like Lenin said, you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs. The eggs are the American people. That's what she means.
Okay, whatever that means. But let me just tell you something that I'm concerned about.
Yes, Vladimir Lenin, he knew.
I know, but here's the deal, Larry. I want to push back on you on one thing, brother. You said that Donald Trump got rid of Epstein because he found out he was a creep. Please do remember that Brother Trump is the one that goes on national TV and everybody could see he has some sort of a crush on his own daughter. So let's remember that, okay? Let's remember that. You know hey.
Yeah, well, you know, I kind of got a crush on mine, too. Now, if you mean in a way that's not healthy and wholesome, hey, man, I think you might be projecting a bit, perhaps, and maybe reading a bit too much into the situation.
Okay, maybe I'm reading too much. In projection, I don't have to worry about that.
I think you are. Okay. I really think you are.
Brother, let me tell you, thank you so kindly for calling. Anything you want to say before I move on?
No, man, I'm enjoying the show. And, I do wish you luck in all your endeavors. I really do, because you do bring the issues out with bringing the best possible face you can put on a very bad position. And I think it's important to discuss people who can put the very best face on bad ideas.
My favorite.
And you're valuable in that respect.
Thank you, brother. And you know what? You know I love you, man. You keep improving yourself. You keep listening, because one of these days, the seed that I planted in your head is going to sprout. So you have a wonderful day, sir. All right.
I'll take you on anything you want to bring up, brother.
All right,
Anything.
brother. Have a good one, guy. Take care. All right, folks.
You
That
too.
was Brother Larry. Okay, let me see what else I have to talk to my people about. Let's see. Hierarchical powers. This is from Noah Sibley. Hierarchical powers, normally Western powers, fascism, capitalism. I'm using more as a broad term because it encompasses a whole lot of things. Let me just tell you something, Noah. I don't know if you watched the show that I did with Dr. Richard Wolff. Dr. Richard Wolff is a great, he's a great, hey, come on, Masticator. Don't use that kind of language, brother. Come on. You know, we can be better than that, Masticator. Come on. Be good. All right. Anyhow, Richard Wolff was on my show, and he pointed out something very important about capitalism, feudalism, slavery, and socialism, and he kind of he made the connections. And I think it is so important for folks to see that. Lex Alexander says, breaking eggs as in nuking a hurricane. We would then have a radioactive hurricane headed right at us. Not only that, what they forget about that, first of all, the amount of energy in one nuclear bomb, even if it's a fusion bomb, a thermonuclear hydrogen bomb, is so much less than the totality of that one huge hurricane, right? But all it'll do is infuse the hurricane with more energy. That comes from a president that knows absolutely nothing. When we say that comes from a very fairly dumb president, I mean, come on. Brother Carter, yeah, Dr. Wolff is really good lately. President Carter, who I consider the most moral, the most ethical, and the most socialist successful president this country has ever had. In my opinion, that is Carter. And the reason why is Carter has used his presidency to do so much good. I am expecting some of that out of Obama. We'll wait and see. Okay, let's see. Look, Senor Masticator, what I was talking about is the kind of language that you're using, sir. That's all. I mean, you can tell me just about anything. I can take it. I'm a big boy. So it's fine. Okay, let's see what else. Samantha says. Let's see. Samantha says, Bernie and Warren won't solve the problems themselves. We'll need mobilization of millions of people in this country to get our reps to follow through on the policies we need. And that's the reason I have Politics Done Right, trying to expand it so that we get more people into the family, that we can become one little seed in the millions of seeds that you talk about, Samantha. That is what we have to do. You are absolutely right. Les Alexander says, prison labor is today's slavery. That is today's slavery, but also capitalism and the way people have to work for corporations is also pseudo-slavery, and I don't want to go into that today because we're still going through the AOC's platform. Okay, and Lee Grant says, Lee Grant, it escapes me how Liz Warren, former professor at Harvard Law School, is somehow detached from the plutocracy. Lee Grant, look, let me tell you, I was attached to the plutocracy. I had a software company. I had pricing power. I created all from the licenses to the software to the manuals to everything that I sold to NASA, to Boeing, to Exxon, to Texaco. They all used my products. So I was a part of it. I voluntarily, a decade ago, gave that up. So I'm poor. I gave that up and said, you know what? I can do better if everybody, and when I say do better, we're not talking financially. We're talking feeling better, doing better, being a better character in this whole thing. Let's see whose message did I miss. If I missed your message, just throw it out there again, my friends. Let's see. I have a new message platform here that unites the Facebook messages, the YouTube messages, the Periscope messages, etc. And sometimes I miss a few. Wolf is great. My first time seeing your show. Thank you so kindly for being here, Noah. Please remember to share the show. I for all of you that are here, I need to ask a favor. Please share this with your friends. Please share this on your wall. Please also encourage people to join to subscribe to us. Let's get the whole idea behind this is we want to learn together and we want to be able to have actionable things together. And you know what? Even my brothers here on the right, I'm going to have them doing some stuff for us too, because they don't know it yet, but they're friends and they're going to be working with us. Not they're going to be working with us. All of us going to be working because we all want the same thing. Okay, back to the AOC things, and then I'll come back to some of those questions. So we talk about a living wage. Everybody asks about a living wage. Everybody says, oh, we want these people to work. But if you work and you don't make enough and you have a child, how do you take care of the child if all the money you work for would only take care of childcare and not your basic needs? So therefore, we need a lot more than minimum wage. We need a living wage. How radical is that? It's not radical at all. If you cannot pay a living wage, then you shouldn't have employees. You don't have a business if you can't pay a living wage. That was item number 2 that people say is radical, what the radical left wants. So the first was Medicare for all. The second, and this was AOC, for those that are just coming in, AOC sent out a tweet that said, reminder of what people are calling the radical extreme left agenda. And then she itemized 8 things. Medicare for all, a living wage, K16, 100% renewable energy, fixing the pipes in Flint, not hurting immigrants, holding Wall Street accountable. Those are radical? They're not. Okay, so I'm on number 3 now, K through 16. There was a time when high school is all that we needed. You could go to high school and then go to work. Some corporation would train you. Well, you know, as corporations started to maximize their profits, remember what they said they are. Corporations tell you straight out, our job, the executive's job, is to maximize the return for the shareholders, nothing more. Their fiduciary responsibility is to shareholders, not to employees, not to their customers, not to society, not to the environment. That is who they are there for. They said it. The Supreme Court justified it when some people sued them and saying, well, you know, we don't want the executives doing that because it is for the maximization of profits for us. Okay? But here's, to attain all these things, every year they depend on having a bit more of a return, a bit more of a return, a bit more of a return. Eventually you run out. You are not growing fast enough. If you have an economy growing at 2% and your shareholders want to grow at 7, 10, 12, 15%, they have to take it from you. And that is what they do. They take it from you. And how do they take it from you? They have all kind of methods that corporations use to rip you off, right? They start by saying lower taxes. And then the politicians sell it as lower taxes for everybody, but the people who get the bulk of the tax cuts are these corporations. That tax relief goes right back to the shareholders. So that is your money going to the shareholders. Okay, they're not done with the tax cuts, right? What else are they going to do? Well, all those levies that they had to pay for college education and more school education, as they continue to reduce those taxes, more of those monies get away from you. So now, whereas you could go to college for $4 a semester hour, you're now paying $50, $100 a semester hour. Why? Because now the corporations are telling the state, I want you to train these employees that are going to then come and work for me. I will give them a stipend to pay back the loan that they took to go to school because we didn't take the taxes to pay them. And while I pay them a little bit, most of the investment that you, the state, made in the kids, in these adults that got educated, most of the money that the state put into them, plus the money they borrowed to get that education, was monies the corporations didn't have to spend. And who gets that money again? You got it. The shareholders and the executives who got bonuses for ripping you off and giving most of it to the shareholders and keeping a slice for themselves. That is the way it works. But you know, we do it in an antiseptic manner. We don't have anybody telling you these things. We just say, cut taxes. And everybody say, yeah, cut taxes. I get $10 more a month. I get me a burger a month. But you know what they got? People. So when this far left agenda is just an agenda that's saying, let's take back what is ours. Okay? 100% renewable energy. As if that is something crazy, right? Look at what's happening in Brazil. The Amazon is burning, right? Where a lot of the oxygen comes from. We get into this point where things cascade on each other. You get more carbon in the air. You get more particulates in the air. What happens when you get more particulates in the air? You have particulates where you get condensation, you got more voluminous rains over areas that didn't have that voluminous rains. Even from burning in the forest, you can get a higher degree of acid because you get carbonic acid, the mixture of water and some of the carbon in the air, and you can get other forms of nitrates because, again, there's some nitrates in the fumes. It's just nasty. And that is why we talk about clean energy, because if we start working on clean energy, those are things that can be mitigated. There's nothing crazy about it. The reason they complain is it does mean there's a possibility that you getting something for nothing, that corporations can keep doing the same thing over and over again. Let's look at the gas companies, right? The oil companies, right? You dig oil, you take it up, you process it, you sell it. You can do that for eons, for decades, for hundreds of years. No real change to the mechanism, right? No real change. Yeah, when they go deeper and have to find more oil, they have to create different materials that can take the pressure, that can take the heat. I'm an engineer, so I understand those things. And so they have to do those things, right? But basically, it's still sucking the oil out with a straw. In the case of shale, cracking and doing some additional processes while you're destroying the land. But ultimately speaking, guess what? It's the same thing. Now, going green requires innovation. It requires studies. It requires education. It requires doing things differently. It means the oil company that could make easy money by taking oil, sucking oil out of the ground for $1 and selling it for 50 is no longer plausible. That's what we're talking about. So 100% renewable, that's not radical. Radical is what we're doing now. Radical is destroying the environment. Radical is making sure that your kids won't be able to see the kind of environment that they deserve. Okay, fixing the pipes in Flint. She calls it fixing the pipes in Flint. She should have just said taking the damn lead out of the pipes throughout the world, throughout the country, right? Because look at what's happening in Jersey right now, New Jersey. A lot of people just realized they were drinking lead. And throughout this country with our old infrastructure. In effect, Alexandria is talking about fixing the pipes in Flint is the wrong item she placed on that tweet. What she should have put is infrastructure spending. Because, folks, go to Panama, go to China. All of them have better telecommunications than we do. Because our infrastructure is going to rot, right? We built it up good so that we could sell it, and then we milk everything. The business model says we milk everything out of it, and until people absolutely stop buying and crying about it, then we get rid of it. But then again, they always say, but you know what? Competition will solve the problem. But you get all these companies, you buy up all these companies, you don't have competition. There's no competition to force these guys to improve their cellular, improve their Wi-Fi, improve their internet. It's a gimmick. Every time you hear another company buying another company, realize what is really happening. They're making sure that they don't have to invest money in innovating, which they always talk about. The reason we want good profits is to innovate. Folks, it's a con. Our economic system is a con. And the fallacy that the private sector can always do things so much better than the public sector is one of the biggest lies out there. And I just have to ask you one thing. There are two parts to a corporation, right? There's the executives and the shareholders, and then there's the other people at work. I want to ask you one specific question. And this goes between public and private. Why do you think, answer me this, folks, the person who is the engineer, the person who is the doctor, the person who is the technician, does it matter if their executives are paid by the government or their executives are paid by a private company? What would make you work differently? You see, people don't allow you to break down things in a manner that says, is that logical? Does it make sense? I am not by no means advocating the state control of all our companies, resources, or anything like that. What I am advocating is let the government do what is best for the government to do. Things that require no innovation, healthcare. When I say healthcare, I mean paying for healthcare. When I say and putting healthcare in hospitals or whatever. You get the private sector to design all these machines, these great technical innovations, and then you throw it into hospitals that are run by the public sector. No, you don't need any profits. You don't, and you have one insurance company. And why do you have one insurance company? Because you don't have to have a whole staff to talk to 1 million people to collect your money. And then what do you do after that? Again, put innovation where it makes sense. Make it private where people are competing where it makes sense. Don't ever fear when people say, oh, the private sector does it better. No, the private sector done killed a lot of people already. Don't let anybody fool you. Not hurting immigrants. Every American, sans the natives, are the sole people that can tell you we have the right to be here. I came from Central America, Panama. I have made it the point from the time I got to this country back in the 80s. I've always said one thing. I was always going to walk this country with my head up high. I was always going to be a producer in this country. In other words, I was always going to try my best to be a net positive. And I can say for the duration of my time as an American citizen, been a net positive. Not to say that one cannot fall on hard times where it reverses for a while. But immigrants come to this country. And when I say immigrants, I'm talking new immigrants, because all of you are immigrants. All of us are immigrants. We work our butts off. And you take a look at the ones that are being chained, the ones that are thrown into all these things right now. These are some very hard working people. Okay, let me go ahead and start back reading some of these things that you're putting out there, because it seems like you have a lot of good ones and we'll run out of time. So, Samantha Sider says, President Carter is one of my heroes. He also seems mentally more capable in his 90s than Biden in his 70s. Wow, prescient, Samantha. I never thought about that. But you're right. Lee Alexander says, thumbs up on President Carter. The only 4 years of my life with no war. Imagine that. Only 4 years of my life with no war. Lee Grant says, oh no, I read that one already. Now, Joseph Sandin says, the divide and conquer practice has worked well. We each have to look past it and focus on what unites us all. Joseph Sandin, from your words to me projecting that out, that is why I love to have Larry here. That is why I love to have Masticator here. That is why I love to have all my right-wingers here as well. Because we may disagree, but we do have more in common, as you've said, Joseph Sandin. Thank you so kindly for making that message. Noah Sibley, correct. Sandin, the capitalist class has done very well. That is true. We'll have a thing on all those numbers. I'll probably replay Richard Wolff's interview. That was a very, very good interview. Noah Sibley says minimum wage should be $25 at this point. Assuming that we escalated or we indexed it to inflation, you are so right. What I don't understand is how all these plutocrats always want everything else indexed to inflation. But when it comes to minimum wage, oh, no, let's leave it where it's at. So in other words, the minimum wage ain't worth what it was when it was formed. So what that is another transfer of wealth to the wealthy. Because if their wealth is increasing, if their cost is getting to the point where it is much, where they're making that much more, and they still only have to pay minimum wage, that's another transfer of wealth. That is you every year giving away your labor for less than it's worth. But we are not taught to think like that, Noah. And that is why I want us, as we listen to Politics Done Right, to look at it through different lens. That's why I say I want my right-wingers here also, because they are going to cuss me out. They're going to tell me a few things, to which I'll say, thank you so kindly. I cherish that. Because while you're telling me these things, I'm also planting seeds. And we're both planting seeds, right? And you know what, right-wingers, sometimes you tell me something that is actually, I sit back and I think, you've got a point. Anyhow, more is truth. In truth, 25 is still too working. I don't know what that meant. Okay, Joseph Sandin says, both sides have sold out in truth. Our extreme left is just left around the world. We need to talk about that some other time, Joseph Sandin, because I don't think that is quite right. Extreme left, it all depends on what you're calling extreme left. Noah says the center, left, and right have definitely sold out. That we can agree with, Joseph. Joseph also says cooperative business models. I love that. I went to, what is his name? I went to one of these economists recently. Can't remember his name right now. It'll come to me sometime. I'll remember it and let you know. Cooperative business model. Noah Siblings also says, depends on what industries are nationalized. Yes, I tell you what, I have actually advocated for the nationalization of banks, and based on something that I want to talk about, we'll talk about that on another time. Government regulations are the only thing that keep corporations in check. You're absolutely right. Likewise, workers should be destroyed under the weight of private workers would be destroyed under the weight of private industries without that. You're correct. And then you said that is how you became a socialist. A socialist is not a bad word. The problem with socialist is the right has so corrupted what it means. The type of socialist that that the folks here that Bernie's talking about, they have so corrupted it that in an election where there's not a lot of time, sometimes it's just difficult to bring it up. Folks, we're coming close to the end of the show. I hope you enjoyed it. I just want to ask you guys to please remember that this is a political show that needs your support. Patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Please visit us and subscribe if you can. If you can't, please go ahead and share the link and ask others who know that we have to get this done. Ask them to go to politicsdoneright.com and click one of the ways to support our show. The immediate one for subscribing is patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Again, that is patreon.com/politicsdoneright, patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Anybody who subscribes to our show gets to read all our books online. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom is one of my books. You can read that online once you subscribe. The other book is also called How to Make America Utopia. ¿Cómo vamos a hacer que América sea utopia? How to Make America Utopia. Take away the economy from those who rigged it. You can also, again, just by subscribing to at patreon.com/politicsdoneright, you can read all our books online. I'm on chapter 4, and this one I'm still writing it. As I write this particular book, guess what? You can see the chapters online as I write it. And then, of course, a few years ago, I had a very bad scare. Almost died from a stroke because, again, my blood pressure got to 240/140. I've changed my eating habits. I've changed my exercise habits. And to help support this show, I wrote the book, Lose Weight and Be Fit Now, to do two things. One is to tell folks what I did to get better, to tell folks what I did to lose all that weight and to stay in shape. And also, again, to support this show. We have to find a way to support these shows because without these shows, without the support for these shows, we can't do it. And give me about 30 more seconds to tell you, please go to store.politicsdoneright, store.politicsdoneright. We have some great t-shirts out there. We have this t-shirt with the squad. That is a nice t-shirt, store.politicsdoneright.com. We also have the t-shirt that says, a woman has already won the presidency. Don't you know that? A woman has already won, and one can win again. Nice t-shirt. Now the t-shirt is the cap, of course, is an embroidered cap, so check it out. And of course, you also have our cups. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. I do need your support. I do need subscriptions. I do need you to make sure that we can continue to do what we're doing. I thank you so kindly for las orejas, your ears. I thank you so kindly for listening. Remember, pretty soon we're going to be having Politics Done Right, also Politics Done Right en Español. That will be one show a week. It won't mess with the schedule of this show at all. Also, remember that I'm asking people to vote whether we want to change the time of this show from 3 o'clock to either 6, 7, or 8 Central Time. For those of you that are subscribers, those of you that are volunteers, those of you that are supporters, those of you that are donors, those of you that have purchased products, you all have a say in what happens to this show because it's yours. So anybody who wants this show to change time, there's a vote at the group, the Politics Done Right group. You can go in there and vote. Look, like I said, if you purchase something from us, you're a supporter. If you subscribe to us, you're a supporter. If you've ever helped us write a blog, if you helped us copy edit a blog, you're a supporter. If you donated, you're a supporter. And all of you have a stake in Politics Done Right. If you didn't get an invitation from me to go into the closed group, just drop me a line and say, hey, I did this. Why the hell am I not in the group? and I'll make sure to put you in a group. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3.